Started. Joining us today for our call is Austin Cindric, driver of the number 2 Ford Mustang, discount tire Ford Mustang for Team Penske. Headed to COTA this weekend. Obviously a road course, kind of right in your wheelhouse. We got a bunch of questions for you here, Austin. So we're going to kick it off. And let's start with Jeff Gluck. Welcome to the call. Jeff, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you. I'm just wondering what you think the strategy will be or how it will change with the lack of stage cautions.
Yeah, I think it changes a lot in comparison to, I would say, especially what we saw last year with stage racing and how it really impacted the road courses with, I would say COTA probably wasn't the worst, but as far as like Sonoma, you either took points or you decided to finish well, and you had opportunities for people to decide if they had a car that was good enough to win or would just take points. And obviously, in my opinion, the purpose of the stage points is to reward the cars that run well. And obviously, I think everyone would agree that the winner of the race should be one of the best cars. So with that all being said, I'm not saying that, best cars didn't win races last year, but I think with eliminating the brakes and the ability for us to run green flag pretty organically, probably more traditionally, really changes the opportunity for strategy. Depending on cautions, potentially fuel mileage. I think it really changes the strategy of the race and how to go about, your speed. But also, I think most importantly, it gives the chance for the best cars for that race to be rewarded for being the best.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jenna Fryer. Hey, Jenna.
Hey there. Sorry, guys. Hey, Austin, I got jury duty too. I got to go in May. So if RP's lawyer can send me a letter, I'd appreciate it.
It didn't get me out of it. It just got it moved.
Just got it moved. I got you. Yeah. I'm curious. The truck race was pretty sloppy last week. The Xfinity race was pretty sloppy last week. Now you're going to a road course, which also tends to, can be rough. I had another driver tell me that I said, what could Kimi and Jenson Button expect? And the answer was to be run over. What kind of race do you think that this will be? Is it going to be clean? Is it going to be messy? Do guys just go for it?
Yeah, well, I think relating to last week, obviously you saw a really messy Xfinity and Truck Series race in a relatively calm but racy Cup race, by the end of things. And I honestly think I'm going to credit the next gen car to that one because our cars can race like that a lot better because we're not relying on side force. Some tracks we go to, you kind of wish that we had that as a thing to where you can manipulate cars in front or behind or whatever else. But in that style of racing, I feel like that makes it a lot easier for us to race side by side with people on our doors. And obviously you can make the argument that the quality of driver and experience and so on is higher in the Cup Series, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of wrecks that happen in Xfinity and trucks due to side force getting taken away with cars on the door. So as far as road racing and what to expect this weekend, I think an extension to my answer for Jeff is that with these stage breaks, cautions, precautions, everybody gets stacked up on restarts. COTA is opportunity corner number one as far as making it, 8, 9 wide going into a hairpin corner. I think those opportunities are certainly a lot less because I think the opportunity to go green flag for a lot longer is a lot higher. You think about a track like COTA with, the most runoff anywhere that we go, you're probably going to have stranded vehicles or multiple incidents or, probably a tire falling off to cause a full course caution.
Thanks, Austin.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Good to hear from you. Let's go to Nate. Hey, Nate Ryan.
Hey, Dan. Thanks. Austin, because it's a road course week, hopefully you'll permit me a sports car question. I'm sure that you saw Jim Farley tweeting out the GT3 testing of the Mustang at Sebring yesterday. First, just a quick question. You weren't there, right? You weren't testing that car, I presume?
No, but I've watched the video in question about 1 million times. But yeah, definitely exciting times for sure.
I bet you have. That ties into my question, obviously. So what's the anticipation level for that car rolling out next season? What have you heard about it? What do you know? And are you anticipating that guys like yourself Ford drivers, obviously you have a ton of IMSA experience, GTO, Rolex, but other guys, like, will this be a real opportunity next year for Ford drivers to get ready for road course races in Cup?
Yeah, it certainly has the opportunity to be, and from my own standpoint, and really not based off of anything else or any conversations that I've had, I want to drive that car. I mean, it's like you said, it suits my experience level and also the relationships that I have. But it's an exciting time in GT racing, just as it is now for prototype racing, with a lot of new regulations and manufacturers, building new GT3 cars, and also the opportunity, with WEC and Le Mans and how that all lines up for that category of car. It's definitely an exciting time. So I want to be as much of a part of that as possible. Now, how that relates to specifically NASCAR drivers and how often they'd want to participate or be in the Rolex, I don't. Could it be an influence? Absolutely, as far as the tie-in with the manufacturer, but the challenge and the drive and the logistics of getting an opportunity for a race like the Rolex 24 will be just as challenging as it always is to kind of find your one-off ride for the race. At least from my experience, that's what I still anticipate. But there's definitely more of a pathway than I think there would be before, as far as Ford drivers are concerned. But yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully get the opportunity to drive that thing. But it's obviously a great looking car. I think that's the first box you got to check. But and it's cool that a guy like Jim Farley, no doubt he's a racer just as much as he is steering the ship for Ford. But it's cool to see that he's just as excited as the rest of us about it.
Cool. Thanks, Austin. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Nate. Let's go to Bob. Hey, Bob Pockrass.
Yeah, Austin, are you, I assume you've seen where the choose line will be for COTA. Do you agree with where NASCAR put it? And do you think it'll change much for the restarts?
Do I think it'll change much for the restarts? Probably not. I'll be honest. It probably creates a bit more of a logistical complication at a road course, just because usually, for me, I rely on my spotter a lot for the information, especially when you're kind of outside of the top 10 and don't have much of a scope on the field. I feel like anyone's just going to take the track position opportunity, but it does give you the option to make the right or wrong decision. So it definitely adds certainly plenty of stress to the driver, and you can certainly change your day, depending on if it's better or worse. You can maybe make the same argument for speedway racing, but regardless, I think the back straightaway out of turn 11 is definitely going to be the best place for the choose zone. It's really the only straightaway that gives NASCAR enough time to look at the lineup and make the decisions they would need to make if someone messes up on the choose or if there's a problem with the lineup. So from that standpoint, I think it's the best location for it. I think that'll be different depending on each road course as far as logistically which section of racetrack, as far as it'll probably be different at IMS, and it'll probably be different at Chicago or Sonoma or somewhere else, or the Roval. So from that standpoint, yeah, be interesting to see how challenging it is. From my own personal standpoint, we're prioritizing to have a spotter over in that location just for that implementation. So certainly interested to see how it goes, this weekend, or how much of an influence it has. I feel like the choose for the drivers more times than not is an opportunity to screw up more than it is an opportunity to gain something. So it's definitely a factor, but probably not as big of a factor as maybe what it was last weekend in Atlanta.
Thanks, Bob. Let's go to Marty Sakala. Hey, Marty.
Thanks, Dan. Austin, appreciate the time, man. So 2 former F1 champions and a former IMSA champ. How big is this race as a whole? And have you felt this much hype in a road race since you began in NASCAR?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you said it, as far as the pedigree of drivers, not only in our own field, but guys that are kind of coming in for a one-off or a couple unique opportunities. Obviously, I would say, between, guys with experience with this, Garage 56 program, between Jordan and Jensen, and obviously Kimi's experience last year and actually coming in with some relative seat time. But the guy's also won here in Formula One, so it's not like he doesn't know the track like maybe Watkins Glen. So certainly be expecting him to perform at an even higher level than what he did at Watkins. So excited to see that. Excited for the opportunity to race against guys like that, and have them kind of in our sport and our stadium and our wacky way of doing things, probably in comparison to what they're used to. So it's a lot of fun. It's fun to see the growth of somebody who's trying this for the first time, because I've been in the sport for what I would consider a limited amount of time, and the things that were new to me and strange to me are probably strange or new or different for someone else. And it's fun to see what those different, strange, awkward moments are for other people as they're trying to learn. I think that's fun for the race fans to see as well. So, but yeah, guys like that are extremely established, I expect, probably every single one of them in a certain respect to have some pace this weekend.
Appreciate it, man. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marty. Let's go to Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Thank you, Austin. Appreciate the time. Obviously, last season, you have the Daytona 500 kind of in your back pocket from, week one. This year, you kind of have to think about points racing a little bit more. So just what's the approach been last year versus this year in the regular season so far?
Yeah, you said, I mean, the points have been, I'd say the first couple of races were a bit frustrating for us. Just getting put in the wall 3 weeks in a row is just not going to be good for points. So from that standpoint, last weekend was definitely our best points weekend in Atlanta. But I would say the points are also extremely tight right now, because everyone's kind of having that up and down, trying to find that footing. And that's where, going into this year, I really thought that you'd see the same parity and the same up and down performance. Hard to find consistency that you saw from a lot of groups last year, and that's continuing this year. So that consistency is huge for being in control of your own destiny points wise. I still am of the belief that you're going to have to win a race to feel comfortable as far as playoffs are concerned. So from that standpoint, playoff points are nice, but a win still gets everything done for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Let's go to Dr. Zoltan. Hey, Doc. Dr. Zoltan, are you there?
It looks like his mic's not working.
Yeah, yep. I'm going to skip over you, Doc. We're trying to get your microphone working there because you show you're not muted, but we cannot hear you. So I'm going to go to Kelly Crandall. Hey, Kelly, pick us up.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, Austin. You talked about earlier how no stage breaks this weekend. Obviously, we're going to change the strategy for the race teams. But what about for the drivers? It's been a number of years since you all haven't had that expected caution that you're going to have that break. So how do you think that's going to change just how you all attack and maybe push your car and just change the racing?
Yeah, I personally have never done a NASCAR sanctioned race that didn't involve stage breaks. So be new to me from that respect, as far as pushing these cars for that long. If it was the last generation car, yeah, I'd probably be concerned about brakes and those long green flag runs. I would say with this car and the next gen car, probably not so much. But someone's going to fall out of the seat. That's my prediction for the weekend. I can tell you it's not going to be me. But I think it's more possible this weekend than any other weekend. It's not going to be cool by any means, but it's a physically challenging track. I mean, you do have the long back straightaway to rest, but I did the Goodyear tire test a couple months ago, and 2 days of driving around that place knocks you around. It's a bumpy racetrack. You're using a lot of the runoff that wasn't really meant to be driven on, so you're getting tossed around in there, banging around, grabbing gears all the time, using your legs for braking, and on top of that, they're pretty hot race cars to drive. So from that standpoint, I think it'll be a pretty physical weekend.
Thanks.
All right, Eddie. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Austin, Pelleggi Motorsports today. Just want to circle back to Marty's question for a few minutes ago. Obviously, a stacked field this weekend, road course ringers, probably the most ringers we've seen in a long time. From your perspective, someone who has a road racing background, what is the sort of significance here with the resurgence of road course ringers coming back? And do you see this as a trend that's sort of going to continue for the sport for years to come?
It's pretty interesting. I would say, as cool as it is, I would love for it to be a gateway or a catalyst to see guys of that caliber, drivers of that caliber, because it's not just a guy that comes and does road courses. They're champions, they're world champions, they were or are the best at what they do. and they're coming and joining our races. I hope it's a catalyst or a gateway for them joining us on not just road courses, but in oval racing as well. I mean, it's so different, but I feel like it challenges you in so many different ways that I'm looking forward to one of those guys getting the opportunity to go outside their comfort zone and do just that, because I know how big of a difference in a culture shift it was for me. So yeah, I hope it's a gateway for that.
Thanks. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Mitchell Brewer, go ahead.
Austin, this will be the first week that we see the new short track road course package that NASCAR rolled out for this season. What sort of effect do you think it will have on this weekend's race?
As far as the effect on the race, hard to say. Obviously, we raced at Phoenix and kind of saw, the differences or lack thereof as far as the race. Obviously, it's going to change a bit of how you set up the car, how you offset it. Your guess is as good as mine as far as what that's going to be like compared to last year's area configuration, other than the fact that it's a lot less downforce, which means it's going to be a lot less grip, a lot slower. You can make the argument that the lack of a couple inches off the rear spoiler probably creates less drag, probably make up some time back on the straightaways. But past that, I think you're going to be fighting for grip in the brake zones and definitely in the higher speed corners. So it's just how much and how much do I have to adjust our car based off of our notes for it.
Thank you.
Let's go to Blake Smith. Hey, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Just going to go off the last few questions, Austin, in reference to the low downforce package and Raikkonen and some of those other guys joining it. Does it kind of level the playing field for them a little bit, since this is your all's first race with this aero package as well as theirs?
I think to a certain extent it does. I would also say that whatever percentage of downforce we took off is probably just going to be that much less than Kimi Räikkönen or Jenson Button has ever driven in a race car, because it's a lot less. So from that standpoint, those guys are in for a treat, depending on how you expect it. Comparison like to Watkins Glen, I felt like you could be really aggressive with our cars at Watkins Glen, just with how fast and how much grip that track surface has. And I would say the lack of straight line brake zones, that'll probably be the biggest difference for, a guy like Kimi, who hasn't, had to really do much straight line braking in one of these cars or whatever else. But look, these guys are pretty talented at what they do. And I've always said a race car is a race car. So I think as far as car control and the ability to make lap time, I have zero doubts that those guys will be on pace. So from that standpoint, does it level the field? Maybe, because everyone's scrambling just as much as the next guy. But I think having practice a 50-minute session with the opportunity to change some tires and feel some things out, I think that is probably more beneficial than anything.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
We got time for one or two more questions. So I want to go to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Hey, Austin, I wanted to ask is just that we saw the Toyota struggle on the road courses a lot last year till Christopher Bell won at the Roval. They've got now Tyler Reddick in their camp, who won 2 races. With this new car, can one driver make an impact on how a particular car performs, especially on road courses when there's been struggles in the past?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think it'll be a great example as far as what you just described with Tyler, who clearly had an impact in almost every road course race that we ran last year, as far as running up front, including Circuit of the Americas. So from that perspective, absolutely, I think a driver can come in and make an impact as far as not just on the racetrack, but the culture, as far as giving the team confidence. Okay, this is a guy, this is somebody who's clearly been able to make this work. We have to believe in how far off we are or aren't, if they're on pace or not on pace. But if it wasn't the Cup Series, I'd say it would make more of a difference. But it takes the entire package. It's obviously about the guy in the controls and making the right decisions inside the race car, but it's about having the right race car at the same time. It's about execution. It's about all those things. So I still think it's about having the big package, but I think having a clear cut example of someone who's been able to make it work and certainly help a program that might be struggling. So I think, yeah, the inconsistency in their performance, I would agree with, certainly an observation of mine. Obviously, seemed like Hendrick and RCR were super strong, especially by the end of the year on the road courses. So from that standpoint, I'd look at those guys to probably be the groups to beat heading into COTA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. I like that. Trey's been very patient. So Trey Downey, go ahead and get what you need from Austin.
Hey, Austin, you talked about the package and what it's going to look like this week at COTA, but next week at Richmond, with the surface of the way that track is, do you think that the changes will be more pronounced there than what we saw at Phoenix?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's less places to hide at Richmond as far as when you're bad, you're really bad. And in this package, even at Phoenix, when you were a little bit off, you were really off. So I could certainly see Richmond, being a bit more of an extreme example, probably the most extreme that you would ever see as far as that's concerned. So I think that's a perfect example of a race weekend that you're going to have to, the guys that can execute and keep up with the track are really going to be able to excel with this package, or have an opportunity to excel more with this package than the previous package. But characteristically, I feel like a lot of those things are the same. It's just, probably a little bit more exaggerated with being in a much smaller window on grip.
Thank you.